Wrestle Magic Pod, official sponsors of British Empire Wrestling.
All right, everyone. Tonight's episode of Wrestle Magic, we are having an interview with Wrestle Magic Pod's very own champion. That's right. We have Miss Amara Jayde from BEW. And ma'am, welcome to the show. It is an honor to have you on. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I brought our beautiful championship that I'm so privileged to hold.
Of course.
Very pretty.
Appreciate you, acknowledging the design and everything. So we had this made specifically for BEW, and it's treated, I'd say, similarly to a hardcore championship. Many people have had it. Even one of the old gladiators from the old show that was in England as well, the British Gladiator version of American Gladiators. I'm not sure what you guys called it. Was it like English Gladiators or just Gladiators?
I think just Gladiators.
Okay. But yeah, one of them even held it, and it's been through a lot of hands. And at the end of the night, Miss Amara Jayde came out to win it. Yeah. And what did that mean to you, being told, hey, you're going to be the one getting the belt tonight?
It was such an honor because this, obviously, I'm your guys' first champion, and I'm really honored to hold it. But this is also my first championship as well. So first for everybody. I'm really honored to hold it. And even more honoured that the first time I get to defend it properly is for the Amara Jayde birthday bash in February. So
tell us about this, please.
So when the show was announced, I sent a little sneaky message to DK and said, "Oh, that happens to be my birthday weekend. Can we do something special?" So I got to pick my opponent for my very first championship defence. And I'm super excited. I've been training really hard and I can't wait for that fight.
So who's the opponent?
The opponent is Donnie Rivaro, who wrestled Leo Rush on the day that I won this championship. So a really big challenge for me, but I'm very excited.
Okay, so can I ask you a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
First of all, how old are you?
I'm 22, but the day I defend this, I will be 23.
Okay. And I want to know what made you want to get into professional wrestling?
So my family are all into wrestling. I've been born and brought up on watching WWE and watching professional wrestling. My grandparents watched wrestling. It's something my parents bonded over before me and my brother were born. I think everyone in my family thought my brother would be the wrestler because he loved it so much while we were growing up. I took many AAs through tables and it was fun. It was the way we grew up. And then when I was in school, I found a friend that also liked watching wrestling. And we both had this little pact that we were going to grow up and be wrestlers. And then COVID hit. Everything got really difficult for everybody. But I think everything being stripped away from you during COVID just made me want it even more. So as soon as my training school opened up, I was in like the first course after COVID and I've never looked back.
So who did you train underneath, if you don't mind me asking?
So I train at Hustle under Sid Scala. I've been there for nearly 5 years now.
Okay. So inspirations, and then I'll toss it over to Matt, but I want to know your inspirations, please.
So I used to do MMA before I started doing professional wrestling. So I'm a big fan of Shayna Baszler, Ronda Rousey, Jessamine Duke, Marina Shafir, the 4 horsemen of MMA that went over to WWE. I think before that I was a big Bella Twins fan. Growing up, I thought they were really cool. And especially at the time, they were some of the hardest hitting girls for their generation. Beth Phoenix, Natty, anyone that really like pushed the boat out with the more aggressive style. I think big inspirations for me.
Over to you, Mav.
All right. So I did want to start off just by saying, so obviously you grew up watching a lot of WWE, but it sounds like you were one of the kids just like me who ignored the warning of please do not try this at home that always played before every episode, every pay-per-view, every video game. It didn't matter. We were both kind of the same thing. Just doesn't matter. We're putting our siblings through stuff or our friends through stuff. That's just who we were. But I also did want to ask, so outside of wrestling, what else was your childhood like? I'm intrigued just to know what else you were doing outside of wrestling and, MMA, obviously, too.
So when I was 3, my mum put me in dance lessons, and I did performing arts from when I was 3 until I was 14. So I grew up as a little ballerina. So I don't think anybody expected my future to look like this when I was in tutus from 3. So I was a dancer. I did performing arts with acting and singing from, literally the age of 3. And then when I was 15, I decided to make a crazy change and go and do MMA. I played girls football and netball. I've been like really into sports pretty much my whole life, but I'm also really nerdy and really academic. I love maths, and I have like really good like maths and science grades from school, like reading. So I grew up kind of exploring everything. I think my parents encouraged my brother and I to explore every avenue, to put everything into school, to enjoy reading, to enjoy going to the cinema, to play sports, to do performing arts. I think they encouraged us to kind of try everything. So when I said I wanted to try wrestling, I don't think it was the craziest shock to them, because me and my brother just tried everything we could.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, you went from all these other athletic talents that eventually led to your ability to become a wrestler. Do you feel any of them specifically helped push you that direction, or was it just your upbringing?
I think that when I first started training, MMA was really helpful. Knowing how the body moves and how to manipulate joints and the way to try and keep yourself safe. I think that kind of traveled from MMA into wrestling. And the performance aspect of performing arts was quite helpful. I think physically, my skills that I picked up were great at the beginning, but I've had 2 major surgeries since. So I feel like all the progress that I've had maybe going into it was a little bit lost from where I'm at now.
What'd you do to yourself, if you don't mind me asking?
So when I was 11, I was hit by a car, and it ended up just like really derailing my life.
What the?
Yeah, so I was on my way to school. A car ran over my foot and I smacked into the glass. My parents took me to the hospital, and they did all these scans and they couldn't see anything. When I was like 12, 13, me and my mum started noticing that the foot that had been run over was starting to like be really painful, and there was lots of swelling, and my bones were looking really weird. So I went to my GP, and they were like, "Oh, there's like, you're 13. We're not going to do anything about it." Me and my mum kept going back. I think when I was 14 or 15, we saw a different doctor, and he was like, this looks weird. And they sent me to like see some like a specialist team, and they put me in like child foot physio and like rehab, and they like banned me from doing barefoot sport like MMA and like dancing. And it wasn't until COVID, where I was walking around barefoot all the time at home, that my symptoms got really bad, to the point like my leg would go numb and I couldn't walk, that they sent me to get more scans. And I finally had an MRI 8 years post the incident. They finally did an MRI and realized that I had a bunch of broken bones in my foot that they didn't see originally. So I had started training. I danced and done MMA on broken bones in my foot. I think I had my first surgery when I just turned 20. So it'd been 9 years of living on a broken foot. The first surgery, they tried to create space and fix the damage. They thought everything was fine. I went back to wrestling. I wrestled for 1.5 to 2 years, and then we went back because it was still really painful, and they looked and the bones had still not healed.
Jeez.
So I had another surgery at the end of 2023. They removed all the broken bones. So the rehab for that was horrible. Trying to come back to sport after having my tendons snapped and resealed and bones removed. So I had a 2-year rehab to return back to wrestling. So I've only been back for 6 months post those surgeries.
Well, dear Lord, girl, please stay off that foot. Whatever you have to do, stay off that foot. Okay, I'm begging you, stay off that.
I mean, I'll interject here and say I didn't get to see your whole match, unfortunately, Amara, but I did get to see some of it. You move pretty good after knowing this backstory. Like, what the hell? All right, that's not at all what I was expecting. But yeah, you did very well. I thought even through like everything else that's gone on, now it seems like you are superhuman, potentially better than some of the people that we've seen on TV already. So I am not worried about your future. I'm glad that you're our first champion. But anyways,
Thank you.
So you're the female Carrie Von Erich, is what I'm hearing.
I guess you
I
could
hate to say that. I should not. Mav, I know I shouldn't go there, but she is. Yeah, but first of all, to be our first champion is very, very beautiful. I think that it's an incredible accolade because Mav and I have been doing this for a long time, and like I said, I'm his uncle, and we know a lot about wrestling. And so, for you to be the first champion, I want to know who is your dream opponent.
This is really easy for me, and it will never change until I get to wrestle Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler will forever be my dream opponent, and if there's ever a day where the universe allows that to happen, it will be the best day of my life. She's just the best.
That's awesome. Mav, you got the floor, bro.
All right. Well, so what else outside of Shayna Baszler having that MMA background do you feel has really pulled you into her? Because, I do agree she is a great wrestler, but I'm just intrigued to see what other qualities, since you're saying that's who I want to call my shot against.
So recently, on social media, Shayna's been posting so many tips about like training and wrestling and just her philosophy and her mindset towards wrestling. And it's something that I sit at training with my classmates and with my coaches, and we're all just completely infatuated by everything that she says, because she has such a mind for wrestling, considering it wasn't where she started. I've never watched a match of hers where I've not seen something and gone, that was super cool. I think she brought such a different style and a different mindset to professional wrestling when the Mae Young Classic started, and to be able to bring something that's so unique and have people behind her. Like when she was in NXT, there are so many people that remember her run, and being Shayna 2-time and having being the first NXT Women's Champion to hold it twice. I think what she was able to do for women's sport in MMA and the UFC, and then also to bring that to WWE, is so inspiring and amazing.
Okay, I could definitely see that. Now, my next question is, well, I'll be honest with you. So I did believe that Ronda Rousey in MMA was an absolute animal, especially in the beginning. But then, things went a different direction after the fight with Holly Holm and everything. And then coming to WWE, I don't know, I just never really got behind her as much. How did you feel about her and her run?
I think that it needed to happen. I think wrestling fans and fans of MMA and the UFC needed to see it. Whether it was the best fit, I don't know. I think it brought a lot of attention and a lot of eyes to professional wrestling, but I don't think that Ronda Rousey picked up the knack for wrestling as well as a Shayna Baszler.
Yeah. I would definitely agree on that one. Shayna Baszler, for a release, I just couldn't believe it, to be honest with you. So, and I'll keep my 2 cents out of it, but I just want to say that I'm a big Shayna Baszler fan, and I think for her to be the person to take Ronda Rousey out, it gave legitimacy to it. But it's just the fact that she had a lot of talent. I get that she's not your glamour girl. In a weird way, I kind of find her attractive. I do. And I also think that she has just so much talent. She drips more talent than some people have who are currently in the ring. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, seeing the whole situation that has happened, I feel like even though she's not diva level of what WWE would have wanted back then, she is everything that the business needed, in my opinion, because honestly, it's not all about looks. This is about a performance. And I feel like women's wrestling is way more than just how they look when they come out and when they go back. That's not something that I feel is really something needed for wrestling. But so outside of Shayna Baszler, who were some of your favorites growing up? I know you had mentioned, was it Natty, Beth Phoenix, the Bella Twins you had said, but who was your favorite that every time that they'd be on the TV, you're glued?
Oh, well, when I was little, it was John Cena. There's no way that John Cena wasn't on the screen, was on the screen and you weren't watching. Every time my dad and brother would go to a wrestling event, whether I was there or not, I'd get a new Fruity Pebbles shirt. I had all the colors, you know. I think that was inevitable. I think when I was a bit older and I was really watching wrestling, like in my like teenage years, when I was really a fan of it, and it wasn't just everyone watching it like together. When I would choose to watch on my own, I really liked The Shield during that time when they first came. I think that was really cool. Seth Rollins is a very big like inspiration for me when I was younger, just watching him being able to pull from loads of different styles. I think that's really cool. I really just like people that do things different. I think when Shinsuke came, he brought a really cool new style to WWE. I like strikers. I like submission specialists. I like watching Daniel Bryan work because he's really good technically. When Gunther came to NXT UK, I loved that. Pete Dunne's one of my favorite wrestlers. He's so great. There's so many people, but they all bring something different to me. Currently, my favorite wrestler is Jacob Fatu.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. I didn't expect that, but I've been following Jacob Fatu since about 2017-18 when he was in MLW. And I mean, he lives the gimmick. He is the Samoan werewolf, and I love it. I'm that's a very surprising pick. I love it. Keep going.
I think with Jacob Fatu, this is going to sound crazy, but I feel like I can relate so much to him being able to do things that people wouldn't expect of him. I don't think anybody looks at him and goes, yeah, that guy is going to do this like crazy moonsault. And I think in a very different way, I don't wrestle in the way that people would look at me and go, yeah, that's how Amara is going to wrestle. I think it's really cool to be able to understand who you are as a person and understand how people view you and be able to flip that on its head for like entertainment purposes. And anytime he's on the screen, if I see him on a match graphic, I'm like, right, well, that's an episode I'm going to watch. That's a PLE I'm going to watch. That's definitely a match I need to tune into.
Definitely.
So I think he brings something really special to the business at the moment.
Totally agree. He is very talented, and he's one of the only ones that I feel it's been part of the Samoan bloodline, or, you know, whichever side of it you want to talk about, that I feel like he's going to be the best. I think he's going to be above everybody else in it. I feel like Solo's kind of going to fall behind. There's not going to be much left of him after a couple of years, honestly. But enough about that. So you had said that one of your favorites when you were little, first name out of your mouth was John Cena. So I want to ask you, how did his retirement hit you?
It's hard when you are a wrestler to find the line between watching something as a wrestler and watching something as a fan. And I think as a fan, I was awake at 4 a.m. and watched John Cena tap out and smile at me on my screen. And it's heartbreaking. And especially I watched it with my family. I watched it with my brother, who I've watched wrestling with my whole life, with my mom and my dad. And it was very emotional. It was very sad. But then as a wrestler, I sit back and I watched it and went, oh, this is so good. This is so good. This is storytelling at its finest. This is so perfect, even though I hate it. And I find that so often when I watch wrestling, I'm like, I hate it, but it's so good and it's so smart. But
you're also a fan
like
of Gunther. I mean, you're also a fan of Gunther.
Yeah, and I'm glad it was him. I'm glad it was him.
Obviously, you go back to when he was Walter, so you know his lineage and everything that he's done in the European scene and how he really broadened wrestling on the European scene. So could there be a better person to retire Cena? Most say Orton, but I think Gunther, really.
I think John Cena did exactly what I would have expected, which was laying the table and handing over his history to somebody else. To give it to Randy Orton wouldn't have meant anything because Randy Orton doesn't need it. To give a momentous thing to Gunther is only going to elevate him. And I think it's the same with like Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, right? Like Lesnar's career was already going so well. He was already doing so well, but to end that streak, all it did was go, here, I'm going to give you everything and you need to take that and be the best you can be. And I think that's what John Cena did with Gunther, and it's all he has ever stood for. Is I'm going to leave the business better than I found it and better than I joined it. And he's given Gunter, who has so much potential and so much star power and main event energy, he's given him something that he can hold on to forever and that no one can ever take away from him. He tapped at WrestleMania and everyone's going to remember that Gunter tapped, but also no one's ever going to forget that he's the one that made John Cena give up. And that was such a nice gift to pass on to someone like Gunter, who will just take over the scene.
Totally agree. And I fully agree that it wouldn't have helped Randy Orton at all. But something I do believe is I would have paid big money to see like maybe a second to last match be specifically with Orton, because they had so many like matches and rivalries back and forth for years and years. It was like, what era are we in? Cena and Orton, I have no idea what year we time travel to, sort of thing, you know? It could be anywhere. But totally agree on that. However, when he smiled at the camera, I kind of felt like something in me was saying, I feel like his career flashed before his eyes, and that's why he's smiling so big. I felt like that was why in that moment he was just like, okay, it's over now. Just because he was so happy about it and just so excited that that was the way that it was going to end, and it's time to pass it on to somebody who's going to take the business to the next level beyond where Cena went. But with that, I'm going to pass it back to the gardener over here, because I feel like I've hogged the spotlight a little too long.
No, not at all. I mean, Mav, you're an inquisitive person, and that's what I love. Like, that's why you're my nephew. One, because we're related, but two, the fact that like you do have these great questions and these inquisitive questions that we have to ask. So you're our first champion, and I got to know, what was it like to be like, you have this belt, do you take it everywhere? Do you take it like to every show you go to? Like when you go to indie shows or whatever else, like side shows, like do you take it? Do you show it off? I mean, we won't be offended if you don't, but I got to know, like, this is your first title, your first championship. So like, do you put it around your back? Like, yeah, look at me. It's a goofy question, but I want to know.
So my family came out to that show. So the first thing I did was take it to my mom and dad, and I gave it to my dad at first because I wanted to share that moment with him. He's my number one fan. I showed it to my brother, and I was like, look, all the AA's through the table. And then I immediately went to Alicia Fox, and we took like the cutest picture. Like, it was just such a euphoric day. The next day, I work with deaf children as my little daytime job. When I'm not kicking people's heads off, I work with deaf children. And on that Monday, when I could take this to work and show this to them, it was just like the proudest moment ever to have this sitting on the table when they came in the morning, and they all looked at me and said, "What is that?" And I said, "Your teacher is a champion." And they were so happy. I let them, very scared, I was very scared, but I let them all hold it with like my hands underneath, like, please don't drop it. Let them like feel how heavy it was, and let them just like see just what crazy things can happen to you if you work hard. So it was really cool to like get to show them. When I had training, I had it in my car and I didn't want to take it into training. I was like, oh, I can't take it in. That's so embarrassing. But like, I'll have it in my car and then I'll show like one or two of my friends, because I felt like I couldn't bring it in. But when we were leaving, I was like, guys, come have a look at my car. Look what's in my car. So I could show them. And yeah, I take it everywhere with me, to be honest. But I'm scared about like taking it into places and people thinking anything bad of me. So I just have it like in the boot of my car to like everywhere I go, to all my shows, in case anybody wants to see it. And just take it everywhere with me.
So you should try this. So my brother, Mav's uncle, he was an independent wrestler for a long time back in the Columbus, Ohio scene. And he used to tag with this guy who called himself Al B. Dam. And Al would wear the belt around his neck, and he would go into bars and ask for a free drink because he was the champion.
That's
I
cool.
want to see, I'm thinking you could get a free drink.
Maybe I'll have to try it. I have to take it somewhere.
Why not? But no, seriously, I do want to know, what is your favorite match that you've ever seen in your life? Like something like the match that stopped you in your
Okay.
tracks. You couldn't sit down because you had to stay glued to the television to watch it.
So we've had this debate at training before, and I remember everyone's responses, and I remember everybody looking at me when I said this, and they were like, "That is the roguest thing anyone's ever said." But I will never change my answer. The very first Women's Royal Rumble.
Okay.
That
There's no shame
Yeah.
in that. Go ahead.
I will rewatch it a million times over. If I want to feel happy, I'll put that match on. And it sometimes for me it is not just the match itself, but sometimes the situation around it and like the memories that I attach to the things. There are a few matches that come to the top of my head that like I have such fond memories to, or pay-per-views or things like that. But for the women's Royal Rumble, just like sitting and watching it with my family, knowing at that point that this is something I wanted to do. The Royal Rumble, I think it's fair to say, is most people's favorite pay-per-view, and everybody gets really excited, and we're kicking off the road to WrestleMania. It feels like Christmas to me when I know the Royal Rumble is coming, and for them to create that for women, and for me to be able to see my favorite match and something that brings me so much joy, and to see that being a possibility for me in the future. And just because there wasn't enough female talent currently on the roster, it was surprise after surprise after surprise. I cried at the end of that Rumble. Like, it just means so much to me that I think I nearly like deafened my mum because I screamed when the Bellas came out, and she went, there's one Bella, that means that the other one's going to be next. And I was going to cry. It just, like, it holds so much weight, and it holds so much power and meaning, like, as a young female that wanted to be a wrestler and just wanted to do all of these cool gimmick matches that you watch and you get excited for as a fan. So having that door being opened up to me on TV was just one of the most powerful moments for me.
That's amazing. Before I swing it back to Mav, I'm going to ask, excuse me, I stutter a little bit. Ask the $1 million question. Who is your wrestling crush? We all have
one. Is it cheating to say Roman Reigns? Because it just is Roman Reigns, and everyone should be Roman Reigns.
I don't think I'd go that way, but no, it's just a goofy question, but there's always somebody that you have a crush on, and like, I mean, for me, it's Mercedes Moné, but Mav can tell you more about that, and we're going to swing this over to Mav.
All right, so I do want to start off by saying, so I remember that moment when you came over and you got a picture with Alicia Fox, because I was, right next to it. And I remember I came over and I started talking to you about it for a second. And I remember you were talking about 1,000 miles an hour because you were just so excited about it. And I remember I'm standing there with my girlfriend at the time, and I'm like, okay, I know she's excited, but I cannot keep up with what she's saying at this moment. I was like trying my best and just listening, and I was like, okay, starting to slow down a little bit. I'm starting to catch on to what she's saying. All right, we're good. And then, I had my girlfriend take a picture of us and everything. And it was, just kind of a nice moment to see, like, hey, this belt that came from just this kind of goofy podcast is now being represented by somebody that honestly I take seriously with this, and who I feel can definitely make it to the next level if she trains hard enough and continues at it, as long as you don't get hit by another car, honestly. But that's a little bit out of our control for the most part. But yeah, so I do also want to ask you, so outside of that Women's Royal Rumble, what else could there possibly be? Because I do understand the sentiment behind that is huge. That was when they finally kind of opened the door and said, yes, women can have also just as big of matches as the men can have. It doesn't have to be just, men's Elimination Chamber, men's Royal Rumble. It doesn't always have to be that. But what others? Maybe a singles match or something of that sort?
I feel like this is really silly. I have a silly one that's like a match that always sticks out in my head as like just top class entertainment. And that's Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus at WrestleMania, I want to say 28, but I might be wrong. Where Sheamus beat him in like 3 seconds because he was too busy kissing AJ Lee. And we have a running joke, because my mum is Irish, that Sheamus is our cousin. So we were all really happy about that. And I just, again, like the sentiment behind it, like sitting with my family and us all just having a laugh at like, oh my gosh, our cousin, he did it. What a guy. So So I think that's really special. And like you said, the Elimination Chamber, Shayna Baszler in the Elimination Chamber, just absolutely destroying everybody and murdering people one at a time. That's always fun to watch.
Definitely. So something else I did want to ask you, and I should have asked it way earlier, but who do you feel that you've kind of developed your style and maybe even your character after?
So my character, so recently I got to meet Bailey and we got to hang out a little bit and talk about character stuff and kind of finding your own. And I think it's still a big like work in progress for me and like developing really who I am as a wrestler. But something that she said to me was like, just be weird. Like it's okay to be weird. There are weirdos and like that's fine. And I think that is kind of what I'm slowly coming to like accept, is that the version of me that you met at that show is the most me that I could possibly be. I get very excited about things and ramble at a million miles an hour. I have like really niche hobbies as an adult now, and I'm always bouncing around and I'm really hyper. And I think that conversation with her of like just being weird and her finding her weirdness, and like you see that through her work, that she just is herself and she allows herself to be every single incredible weird little nuance of her as a real person. She allows that to bleed through her character, and I think that's really cool. Within my work, I'm a submission specialist, so I take a lot of inspiration from anybody who like works submissions. I like have taken a lot of inspiration from some of Matt Riddle's stuff, and some of his cool submission spots. Shayna Baszler. My finish is the Dragon Sleeper, which I taken from Mercedes Martinez from the Mae Young Classic. When I watched that, I went, "Oh, I love it! That's the best submission I've ever seen." So I think that's kind of where I take inspiration from strike wise, like Pete Dunne, people that have these really intricate and cool like striking combos, and thinking about what is available to you instead of what is your preferred move. I think that's something that I really take from like Pete Dunne's work, is like he's not setting people up to do a thing he wants to do. He's using strikes and using aggression to put people where he wants them to be instead of moving them. It's, I'm going to do this thing so you're in this position and then I can hit that thing because that's what's available. And I think that's what makes his work so sleek and so smooth. So I think I'm drawing so many inspirations from different people. And I feel like I'd be silly not to say Sid Scala, because he is my coach and I think he's one of the best British wrestlers and has such an amazing mind for technique. And so being able to take things from him and be taught by him at the British strong style, the proper British wrestling that's come from like William Regal and come from Spud and all these great British wrestlers, I feel like I've got to take so much of that amazing style that has been like brought down to us, which is really cool.
I mean, I hear that for sure, because something that I believe in is you don't have to just learn from the person who's doing everything right. You can also learn from those who are doing things wrong as well. But either way, learn from as many people as possible. You don't have to just model yourself after one person. So I 100% respect that. But also, you did mention that you have some niche hobbies. What are we talking about here? I'm intrigued now.
So it's actually not embarrassing. I was about to say it's so embarrassing, but it's not, because I love it. I'm really into K-pop. I'm really into K-pop. I'm really into I'm really into like K-dramas. I'm very my age. I love sitting scrolling on TikTok and having a good time. I love like coloring and word searches, anything that like is quite chill and gets me off my phone. I love experiencing life. I love experiencing different things. And if people bring something to me that they are into, I will like try and find out more about it. I'll try and be interested. My friend is into Warhammer and he tried to teach me about Warhammer. And I think he thought I was bored, but I was like, no, like actually teach me. Tell me everything I want to know. And I went and tried to learn. It's a lot more complicated than I think I could figure out in one night. But like I love sci-fi films and Star Wars and Stranger Things. I like horror films. It's like one of my favorite things to do with my dad is watch horror films and go to horror escape rooms. I think anything that I get to experience something new, because it also helps for wrestling. It helps to be able to draw from different experiences and different emotions. And I think everything that exists for entertainment, somebody enjoys.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
if they enjoy it, I want to find my way into figuring out why they enjoy it.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's something that I learned from somebody early on when we started doing this podcast and everything. One of the first people that I had interviewed, I believe it was my third solo show at the time. It was with Chavo Guerrero. And I asked him about, so what exactly is your gimmick, or how exactly did you come up with it? And something that he said was, honestly, some of the best gimmicks like my own, it's just my personality cranked up to 11. There's nothing wrong with finding your weird and enjoying yourself. But I'll be honest with you, everything that you mentioned is pretty normal, if I'm being honest with you. It's not weird at all.
It's your uncle and I growing up in the 80s and 90s, really. That's like everything she's saying is what I mean. I've played Warhammer, I've played D&D, Cyberpunk, I've played it all. And I'm no shame at all. I mean, I'm a 50-year-old dork and I don't care. And I love it. I love it because I have created a saying that I love, that the birth of depression is the death of creativity. Something I want people to live with, because when you stop creating, you stop having something to look forward to, and then that's when you just become complacent, and then you downward spiral.
Yeah.
But what I want to know from you, if you don't mind, Mav, if I take it for a second.
Go for it, brother.
All right. So besides Shayna Baszler, you have to pick 3 other team members for your Survivor Series team. Who's it going to be?
Like anybody? Like indie, WWE, anybody?
Yeah,
okay.
It's because I know you're going to take Shayna, so we already got.
Other than Shayna.
So we already have that. So I want 3 other awesome competitors that you're going to choose. Hit me.
Nina Samuels, because she terrifies me, which means she'd terrify everybody else. And I like that. She beat everybody up. She always beats me up. So I'd have her on my team. Oh, it's so hard. Because immediately I think of like people that I know, or like my friends, people I could trust. I think I would have indie wrestler Ted Sabin, because he's a good friend of mine. I know I could trust him, and he's a scrappy little dude who likes to bite people, and who wouldn't want that on your team? So Nina Samuels, Ted Sabin. Oh, it's so tough. And Bailey. I think Ann Bailey.
All right.
Yeah. And then Shayna Baszler and me. That'd be a great team.
So these other 2 that I've really never heard of, to be honest with you, and not being dismissive to them because I just don't know about their careers yet. And if they're over in the UK, obviously, hopefully they catch on and do more of a global stint. But if you could pass on more information about them, we'd love to have them on the show also.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I'd like to learn more about them, and I'm glad to hear about your team. Now, who are you facing?
Ooh. We'll put Mr. Donny Ravaro on there. my first challenger for this championship. Mr. Donny Ravaro can get on that side.
He's a dead man.
Yeah. Gonna get him. Ooh. See, because I just want to pick people who I think I could beat. Like, I want to put like Hornswoggle and El Torito on that team because I feel like I could beat him.
I mean,
No.
I could see you doing
That's
that, but at the
cheating.
same time, you have to remember, you have Shayna Baszler in your corner with you. What do you really need to have people that weak for?
So true. So
they're
Donny
buyers.
Ravaro, we'll get him. Just because I really love antagonizing them, my opponents from the BEW Comic Con, Lucy Couture and Emily Essex, because I really like irritating them, and it'd be fun to watch them cry when I beat them up, like they usually do. Mm, who else? Who else? Who else? I would put also another BEW wrestler, Alexander Roth. I'd put him on that side just because if he wasn't in the ring and he was on the apron, he'd probably be making me laugh because he's a very funny guy and he'd probably make me laugh, but I just wouldn't tag in when he's in because he'd probably beat me up. But I just laugh in the apron. Number 5.
Danny DeVito. I'm just kidding.
The Penguin.
Who's someone I'd really like to wrestle? I'd really love to wrestle Brock Lesnar. Let's put him on that side too.
Dear
just for the
Christ.
jokes. I think it would just be fun, to be honest.
You think you can take an F5?
Yeah. I think I could, and I think I'd get up. And then I'd take another one, and then I would not get up. But I think one, I think I'd be too excited. I think I'd get up. Maybe like 3 Germans max.
That's a lot, girl. That's a lot.
He's looking for another broken bone.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember this whole conversation about you being hit by a car? Okay, so
Yeah. So, but do you remember that I survived? So therefore, I think I could survive Brock Lesnar.
you do have a point,
Yeah.
but he might be the level of a bus. So let's just keep that in mind, okay?
And my pal Ted Sabin will bite his ankles. So that would help.
I gotta see this. I gotta see this Ted Sabin guy. I gotta see him and see his bite. I gotta see his biting. This is gonna be awesome. So, may I ask a question if you don't mind, Mav?
Go for it, dude.
Yeah. So, what is the BEW crowd like?
It's really different. So I've done 14 shows for BEW since kind of summer, since I made my return from injury. And it's really different. It's always super different. Like my first one was really cool because there were people who knew me from other places. So that was really cool to have people that recognized me. We've done some really great shows at festivals where they're like non-wrestling fans and they're just having a good time. And I think that's really cool. Like the Comic-Con again was like a really different audience. So I think it's nice to be able to always wrestle in front of different crowds. And I think they all bring a really different energy. And I think that's really special. And they're really cool that we get to do at BW.
I think that's really awesome. To be honest with you, like growing up, I grew up a long time ago, and there was the Death of the Territories, so I got to see a little bit of territorial wrestling, and then there wasn't a whole lot of follow through unless it was major stadium wrestling. So I love the fact that you're doing all these different shows, doing all these different places, and especially in America also is that you have all these different scenes and all these different indie territories, and it's just really cool to see like a fan base. And like it wasn't until like basically ECW and Smoky Mountain really popped up that we had a rebirth of indie and I guess smaller territorial wrestling that actually had traction. So my last question for you today is going to be, so what was it like when you went into the BEW locker room and you had that title?
It was really cool. It was really cool, but it was like the end of the show, like the end of the day. I think because of the nature of the Comic-Con, there's so much going on that everyone was kind of everywhere. So I think it'll be cool in February to go to our like first show after winning it and be able to see everybody. But just like that moment with Alicia Fox, being able to go and be with her and have that moment was really cool. And share it with my friends and my family. Some of the guys at BW train with me, so it was really cool to like experience that with them.
It's amazing. Mav, take it.
All right. So I also did want to ask you about, because just specifically for that event, I remember Jushin Liger was also there, and I actually had the opportunity and the honor of being able to interview him that day. And I did want to ask you, did you get to speak with him at all? Did you get to pick his brain and try to get any wisdom out of him?
We got to take a nice little picture, and because I think he was really busy throughout the day, it was really busy for everybody, but we got to take a nice little picture, and he told me that I did a good job. And that was like a really cool, special thing, because he was super busy, and I think everyone was trying to get pictures with him. And I was like kind of there, and he was like, no, let's take a picture. And I was like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I hear that. I did get to see during certain matches, he was just sitting in his chair, just watching the matches going on. And then it's like somebody would come up for autograph or picture or whatever. He'd go ahead, take it, get back in his seat. And he was immediately cheering on whoever was wrestling in that moment. He was thoroughly just enjoying himself. And he's just a very genuine wrestling fan on top of being a legend himself. So I hear you on that for sure. And going to that event, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed everything that was going on. The atmosphere was there. You know, I always love being in an indie crowd. So I do want to ask you, so where were some of your favorite places that you have traveled to? I was supposed to go to one show. It was the one where it was like cage matches only, I want to say in like October. And I unfortunately got pulled into work for that weekend. But, you know, where were some of your favorite places that you've been able to travel and work?
So before my recent surgery, I got to wrestle quite a few matches in Italy at a company called SIW, who are really special to me because I actually made my debut over there before wrestling in the UK, which is really crazy. But I had my very first match in Italy with those guys, and I had quite a lot of my early matches with them, and just the environment was really cool. The people are really awesome. Getting to be in Italy for like a weekend and getting to wrestle was super cool and super fun. And I'll always be grateful to them for letting me have my very first match on their show, which was really cool. Yeah, I think the cage show was really fun. That was quite far away. That was in Leeds. I think the best thing about the faraway shows that are in the UK is like getting in the car with your friends and going on a little road trip, because I'm usually like the driver from London. So if we've got a show somewhere, everyone gets in the car and it's like driving around having a good time with your friends. So that's really cool.
I like it.
Yeah, exactly. That's valid, and it seems like a fun time as well. You know, you all get in the car, somebody's got to play DJ up front, someone else got to be the driver, you know, somebody's got to be, all right, who's got all the snacks? Just giant bag, you know, everybody's got to pass out and everything, you know. But yeah, so we are about 10 minutes from, you know, our hour that we usually do with any of our guests. So something that I always like to ask about. So you want to book a match with anybody from history. You can choose anyone, does not matter, dead or alive. You can go back to Mildred Burke if you want. Take on whoever you want, any type of match. Who are you choosing? What type of match?
I think if I could book someone that's no longer alive to have one more match, it would be Bray Wyatt.
Wow.
But against who is the question?
Oh, I was saying like for your dream opponent
Against
as well,
me.
you can do.
Yeah, I think I'd love to wrestle Bray Wyatt. I'd probably die, but it'd be worth it, and it'd be super fun. Maybe like a submissions match against Bray Wyatt, and then maybe I'd have a chance at winning.
Yeah, I can see that. That'd be a really fun one, and I think that you'd honestly be. That'd be a really good match. Honestly, I'd really love to see it. I don't know how else to put it. I think the entrances alone would be interesting for one thing.
Yeah, no joke. No joke. But that's a very good question. So, and like I said, I wasn't going to ask any more questions, so I won't.
Ask a question, man, if you got one.
No. What I was going to do is segue into basically our recommendations.
Wrestle Magic.
As part of the show, we always like to ask our guests. So, recommendation for the audience. You can choose anything: movies, TV shows, video games, cat breeds, dog breeds, plant variants, recipes, and I don't even know, buried treasures if you know of any. Any kind of recommendation you would give to the audience, something you love that you think they should try, what would you give them?
Listen to K-pop. More specifically, listen to NCT, because they're great and they're green like me.
They're green like you.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, excuse me, I've gotten over a little bit of bronchitis. Mav knows about this. So I want you to listen to Buck Tick out of Japan because they're amazing. However, I've already recommended them before because they are just a fantastic band, especially the album 0 Point or Point Zero. But we're going to go with Mortis, Crypt of the Wizard. And as weird as it looks and as weird as you think it'll sound, it is the best music to do your laundry, your dishes, whatever you have to do in the background of your life. You can put that on and you're just like, okay, I'm cool. And it relaxes you and you would never think it. It's one of those don't judge a book by the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And my movie for today is Way of the Gun. Just because it's amazing and it has one of the best opening scenes of all time. And if you're British, which you obviously are, I don't know if you've ever seen Layer Cake, but you need to see that if you haven't seen it.
I haven't. I will make sure I do that.
And my food of the day, bangers and mash. Mav, take it away. Oh, and you can also reach me at 144Captain on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. How can we reach you, by the way, miss?
Instagram at Amara Jayde. TikTok, same thing. We Amara Jayde everywhere. TikTok and Instagram, those are the ones to look out for.
Thank you very much, because you got to promote yourself.
All right, so my recommendation for tonight. So I would highly recommend a video game that I played a while ago with a friend of mine, and it just kind of messed with me for a while. Video game's called Spec Ops: The Line. It was back on the Xbox 360, but when you play through it, the story is not what you think, and not until about 3/4 of the way through it does it start to reveal what's actually going on, and then it's a first-person shooter, and it just feels typical, military sim in the beginning. But then as the story unfolds, it's like, okay, this is not at all what I thought. My character's going a little off the walls here. I didn't realize what actually was happening until now that you start to see other things unfold. But all right, so my last question for you, Miss Amara Jayde. So if you could give yourself any advice going back to before you had started training, what would you tell yourself?
2 things. 1, go get your foot checked because it's broken. 2, something that's taken me a really long time to figure out, but don't be afraid to fail and trust in the people around you at training. Like, trust that they have your best interests at heart. Trust that they're going to help you. Don't feel like you're in competition with everybody because you're the only girl in the room. Like, this is a safe environment, and don't be afraid to try things and be afraid to fail.
Yeah, I kind of like that, just don't be afraid to fail, because something that I learned probably a little bit too late in life, well, not too late, but, later in life than I'd have liked to know, is just a simple analogy, and that is, well, a weightlifter has to find his best by failing. Probably 10 times over in order to even make himself better than what his best was yesterday.
I like that, Mav. I really like that.
Yeah. But with that, guys, you know how we typically end the show here. Do something nice for somebody. You never know who needs it out there. You guys can reach me at Maintenance Mav on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it. And with that, in the words of my old buddy Memphis Mark, we're out.
Wrestle Magic.